there's so many characters I decided to include. I decided to be overly ambitious with this ranking. I believe this is the most passionate and hardest I've ever worked on a character ranking in my entire life. I have 60 characters. That's pretty impressive for a show with 50 episodes, but Code Geass really packed in so much, and I have very strong feelings about a lot of these characters. Some of these characters are some of my favorite characters in all of fiction. Some of these characters I like. They're characters that I think are just okay, and there's some characters that I don't really care for. But overall, I love the character ensemble of Code Geass. I think it's one of the best character ensembles of all time, along with Batman and Hazbin Hotel and Masters of the Universe. There's a lot of great stuff, and I'm here to rank the Code Geass characters in 60th place. I think right away I'm starting with what could be considered a pretty unpopular opinion. In very last place, out of all 60 of the Code Geass characters, is the character that bothers me the most. This character really annoyed me, and I had a lot of strong anger towards this character. In 60th place is Rolo. I don't like Rolo. I think that the second season of Code Geass is absolutely amazing, but Rolo does hurt the season to a certain extent, even though I like the first season. I think it's a 10 out of 10 season. Absolutely incredible. So many amazing stuff. Some of my favorite storylines and moments of any show, but Rolo does get in the way, and at first he was a character that I didn't really care for. I thought his personality was kind of annoying, and just his general way of going about things. He was just kind of a nuisance. Not awful, but not a wonderful character to have around. But later on, Rolo did something that very much broke my heart. And after that, Rolo solidified himself as the absolute worst Code Geass character of all time, in my opinion. Uh, he does something in the middle of the second season that I absolutely detest, and it made sure that he would be in last place. And to be fair, Rolo does have a few redeeming moments towards the end of the show, which shows how great Code Geass is, where even the worst character could have some moments that I somewhat enjoy, but Rolo is definitely still a character I don't like and is the worst Code Geass character in my opinion. In 59th place is Princess Kaguya, and I want to make it clear, I'm talking about the one from Code Geass because The Tale of the Princess Kaguya is one of my favorite films of all time. It's a brilliant film that I've seen so many times. I love it, but I'm here to talk about the Princess Kaguya from Code Geass, who, despite having that name, Princess Kaguya, I don't like her character. Her crush on Zero, it's more uncomfortable than funny, and in general, she's a pretty annoying character, and I don't really like what she brings to the show. It doesn't feel incredibly necessary. She becomes a little bit more tolerable of a character towards the end, but she's definitely not a character that I'm a fan of. In 58th place, there are a few characters that I think didn't necessarily need to be on the ranking, but I wanted to round it to a number. I think if it was like a top 57 list or something like that, it wouldn't have the same impact for me personally. I think just having it rounded down to rounded up to 60, I think made things more interesting. 58 is cool. I believe he's a soldier guy, and he's around, but he never really did anything that was that memorable and never really made an impact on me, so that's just why he's there. I just don't care about him, and I've seen Code Geass so many times, and he still never made an impression on me, so I felt like he had to be ranked pretty low. 57, 56, Nonette, and I believe this character is Dorothy. These characters from the Knights of the Round they did so little that what is there to say about these characters? At least in the Code Geass series, they could have a bigger role in a spin-off, but just in the series, despite the Knights around having some really interesting characters and being important, these two, it's just nothing really to them, so they had to rank low on the list. 55, I think, will be a hugely unpopular opinion, and is a character that I never did a character review for, and that's because, like Rola, I'm not a huge fan of this character. 55 is Princess Euphemia. What really makes Code Geass so compelling and exciting for me is how flawed a lot of the characters are, and a lot of the more morally clearly good people don't really get that involved in the main storyline, but Euphemia is a character that did that, and that really made the conflict a lot less exciting for me. There's a lot less of that brilliant nuance of characters that are flawed, but they have good intentions, and even the villains have a lot of nuance and some good intentions. The Euphemia, just a character that does the right thing. She really came across as too perfect for me, while also just being too much of a character that's indecisive and just a little bit annoying to me, and I'm not a big fan of her and Suzaku's relationship and what that does to Saku as a character, so unfortunately, I don't really like Princess Euphemia. 54 is Tamaki, um, and is a character I feel tempted to put even lower in this ranking, but he is occasionally funny, so I think that's why he at least got up to here. But Tamaki, for the most part, is pretty annoying. Just a loud, obnoxious character. It has some funny moments, but wow, I really am not a big fan of this character. 53 is Rivals, pretty similar to Tamaki, a character that really doesn't contribute that much and is often more annoying than fun, and he feels like he doesn't need to be there, so I really don't care about him. 52, Princess Karine. I think she has a cool character design, so that helped her at least get this high despite basically doing nothing. Kind of another character to fill up the list. 51 is Princess Tianzi. She's a character that doesn't really do anything that bad. She just, despite all the times I've watched the show, she's never really stood out that much to me. She's a sympathetic character, but not a character I really care that much about, unfortunately. In 50th place is Canon. As the sidekick to one of the most important characters in the show, it's a shame that Canon did so little. Him working for Prince Schneisel, he could have had some important stuff, but it felt like he was just there. So, a bit of a missed opportunity, a decent enough character, but a character that needed more to do in order to get higher in the ranking. 49, Sayoko. She's very helpful to Lush and is a likable character. She just doesn't really do anything that interesting to me. Is never really that exciting of a character with that much of a personality, so that's why she's pretty low. 48 is Nonali. Nonali is a sympathetic character. She's incredibly important to Lucia's motivation. However, she often feels more like a character that's there to move things in the plot and motivate Lelouch and actually be an interesting character. So despite how important she is, I often forget about her, and that's why I never did a character review for her, because I just don't really even have that strong of feelings about that character, despite how important she technically is. 47, Naomi. She's a member of the Black Knights that's more tolerable than Tamaki. She just doesn't really get much development or screen time. She just feels like she's just kind of there, so not a lot to say about her. 46, Senba. Despite being a member of Toto's team, it just felt like he was often there a lot of the time, and he was a likable character and cool enough, but there's not a lot to him. And so I managed to rank 15 characters. I think that's not too bad. So those are some of the Code Geass characters that really bothered me, and then characters that didn't really make that huge impression on me. And if you're a fan of those characters, that is perfectly fine. And if those characters brought a lot of happiness to people and some good memories, I think it's great to be able to enjoy a lot of stuff, even if they're characters that I'm not the biggest fan of, and the stuff they did I'm not the biggest fan of. And feel free to let me know what you think about some of these placements and some of my more unpopular opinions.